The Vikings survived winters so brutal that most modern people wouldn't last a night, and they did it without modern insulation, electricity, or chemically engineered fabrics. Before we dive into the core lessons, make sure you subscribe to Warpaths of Europe so you never miss deep historical insights that still hold real-world value. Now, let's get straight into what actually mattered for Viking winter survival. Vikings created layered microclimates inside their clothing to trap body heat more efficiently than most modern outfits. They wore inner layers of finely woven wool that wickeded moisture while holding warmth, topped with thicker, looser wool garments that trapped air. On the outside, they used tightly woven cloaks treated with lanolin, creating a natural water-resistant barrier. You can apply this today by combining a thin merino base layer with a looser mid-layer and an untreated wool outer garment instead of synthetics. This setup outperforms many modern jackets in wet, cold conditions because wool keeps warming even when damp, a principle the Vikings mastered by necessity. They engineered longhouses to capture and recycle heat instead of losing it through constant airflow. Viking longhouses used low ceilings, central hearths, and thick turf-covered walls that compressed heat downward and inward. The smoke that didn't escape immediately created a warm thermal layer that reduced heat loss, something archaeologists still measure in reconstructed longhouses. In modern practice, this translates into reducing dead air space in your living area, sealing drafts near the floor, and using radiant heat sources that warm mass rather than air. A simple version is placing a brick or stone ring around a wood stove or heater, letting the thermal mass store heat just like the longhouse hearthstones did. They relied on controlled heat zones rather than trying to heat entire spaces. Instead of warming the whole longhouse, they focused heat where people actually slept and worked. Beds were boxed in with wooden frames and fur coverings, forming microchambers of warm air. You can replicate this by using heavy curtains, small sleeping enclosures, or insulated nooks in cold cabins. Even using a thick wool blanket to tent a sleeping area over a mattress can recreate the same concentrated warm zone, dramatically reducing the fuel needed to stay warm. They used natural materials that balanced insulation with breathability, preventing the condensation that kills warmth. Wool, fur, and layered plant fibers allowed moisture to pass out while holding heat in. Modern survivalists can apply this by ditching cheap synthetics in cold, wet environments and choosing breathable insulation. A practical example is using a wool blanket over a sleeping bag to prevent moisture buildup that ruins insulation efficiency overnight. This technique traces directly back to Viking bedding methods. They kept extremities warm through circulation-based techniques rather than bulky clothing. Vikings tied leg wraps from ankle to knee to stimulate circulation, not just insulate. Warm blood meant warmer limbs. Today, using compression-style wool leg wraps, wrist warmers, or layered socks with a tighter outer layer can increase warmth without adding bulk, especially during outdoor work. The Vikings didn't just survive winter, they controlled it through intelligent heat management. Use these methods today, whether you're winter camping, living off-grid, or strengthening your cold weather setup. If you want more historical strategies with real-world value, subscribe to Warpaths of Europe and share this guide with other serious enthusiasts.